What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazika Fight Guys, and I'm also a Forbes contributor. I want to talk about Nate Diaz. I'm going to tell you guys, Nate Diaz is one of the most peculiar mixed martial arts superstars in the world. And I use the word superstar very tentatively when we're talking about Nate Diaz. In my opinion, Nate Diaz is more of a personality than he is a star. And I don't mean that, I'm not trying to disrespect Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is a fantastic Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner and a very good boxer. But the fact of the matter is that Nate Diaz is 19-11 in his MMA career. 19-11, okay? But Nate, and I can't really blame him for this, right? Because when in this world, especially in the UFC, you got to build your own brand. I mean, I think Chael Sonnen is a perfect example of this. You got to build your own brand. You have to talk yourself up, even if your resume doesn't necessarily match the words that you use and the way that you talk about yourself. But Nate Diaz, who is got a high-profile fight coming up at UFC 241 on August 17th against Anthony Showtime Pettis. He called himself the king of the lightweight division, said he's done with that division, and he's going to fight at 170 from now on, I'm assuming, right? And like I said, I understand Nate being confident. I understand talking yourself up. I totally get it. But Nate is absolutely delusional if he thinks that that's the truth. He says that he's already beaten everybody. He's the king of that division. If you look over Nate Diaz's career at lightweight, he's done a pretty decent job. He has had some solid moments, right? But not nearly enough for him to call himself the king of the division, right? Not nearly enough. I mean, you look at, he has losses. Now we're going back to 2009, right? He's got back-to-back losses against Clay Guida and Joe Stevenson. Okay, then he beats Melvin Guillard. Then he loses a split decision to Gray Maynard. Wins back-to-back fights against Rory Markham and Marcus Davis. Then he steps up to try to fight at welterweight, which has traditionally been a problem for him. Loses to Dong Young Kim and Rory McDonald. Comes back down to lightweight, beats Takanori Gomi, Donald Cerrone, which in my opinion is probably his best win at 155, and then he beats Jim Miller. All right, now he gets another. This would be two straight main event fights. He takes on Benson Henderson at UFC on Fox 5 back in December of 2012, loses that fight. Then gets stopped via head kick and punches by Josh Thompson. All right, comes back and beats Gray Maynard, gets his revenge on Gray Maynard, but then turns around and loses to Rafael dos Anjos. Then he beats Michael Johnson, and then there goes the Conor McGregor fights at 170 after that. That's an okay run. Like we just, a lot of times I think people get caught up in Nate's reputation, and they get caught up in how celebrated his Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills are, and how celebrated his boxing skills are, and just his overall persona, right? He's just got this whole WWE type of persona, and I think people get caught up in that. But the fact of the matter is Nate Diaz is pretty freaking overrated, y'all. He's pretty overrated. If you consider how highly he's thought of, and you compare that to his actual resume, who he's beaten, who he's lost to, not only is he not the king of the lightweight division, he probably shouldn't even if he had been active all of this time, even if it hadn't been 3 years since the last time he fought, if he had been active through that time and still maintaining the same win-loss type of a exchange that he's had in his career, he's probably a 9th or 10th maybe 8th. And I mean, if you take a look at who's in the lightweight division right now, which he said he's the king of that division now. So he said that. Like, what's the what's the beer commercial with Mila Kunis? Their words, not ours. This is his words, not mine. He says that he's the king of the lightweight division. But if you take a look at, the lightweight rankings, where you got Habib number 1. I mean, do we think? I mean, as a champion, he's never fought Habib. Do we even think that if he fought Habib, he'd win? I think if Habib fights Nate Diaz, Habib's a humongous favorite, and I'm shocked out of my mind if Nate wins. Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz is a fight that almost happened. It's a decent fight. Dustin Poirier is the number 1 contender. I'm sorry, not the number 1 contender. He's the interim champion. He's about to take on Habib Nurmagomedov later this year in Abu Dhabi. So that's that. I definitely don't think that he's definitively better than Dustin Poirier. I'm certainly not sure he wins. I think that fight is probably Poirier's a slight favorite to win that fight. Tony Ferguson, that's a good fight. It's a very good fight, but I'm thinking Tony's probably still going to be favored over him. Tony definitely deserves to be ranked higher. He's a former interim champion and never lost that. Lost it because of injury. Conor McGregor, of course, he's had plenty of battles with him. But we don't want to talk about overrated because we can go there with that one as well. Justin Gaethje, Nate Diaz is a great fight. It's a great fight. I don't know that fight is, in my opinion, that's the real lightweight fight that should have been made. But Nate says he's done. So we're going through that's the top 5 lightweights in the UFC right now. And how Nate considers himself better than any of those top 5 guys is beyond me. I don't understand that. I mean, I understand it because it's just Nate being Nate. But if we step back and look at that logically, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's Nate Diaz, and what does make sense is when he talks, he makes money. And that's what he's doing. That's how he's been able to kind of play this whole string out. It's the reason why the UFC plays the game with him, because he has proven himself to be a draw. And you can't be mad at him for that. But I can't call him crazy for calling himself the king of the lightweight division. That's all I got for you today. I appreciate you watching. As always, God bless and peace.